Hey everyone, I'm Isadora, and today we're going to be talking about unless versus as long as. So first let's see their definitions. Well, unless, you could replace it by if not or except if. If you can do this replacement, you should be okay, you should be totally fine with using unless. And another thing that's important to know is that you are only going to use positive verbs with unless. So the example here, unless you clean your room, you will not go out. Clean is the positive verb related to unless, so everything's okay, you're using a positive sentence, so it's all fine. If you replace it for if not, it's also gonna make sense. So if you do not clean your room, you will not go out. So it's kind of a condition. Unless would be in Portuguese a menos que. And we have as long as. So the as long as is kind of the same of if or on the condition that. If you realize it, while unless is if not, as long as is kind of just if. So unless would be kind of a condition, a negative condition, and as long as would be kind of a positive condition, if we could say so, because it's like on the condition that you do that. So there are kind of conditions already. One thing I wanted to talk about is that in case. So in case sometimes can be used, can replace as long as, but sometimes it cannot. Most of the times actually you're gonna have like completely different cases. So in case, if you use like its translation, you're gonna be fine. In case in Portuguese means no caso. So if you know this translation, you're gonna be absolutely okay with knowing when to use as long as or in case. As long as would be in Portuguese, desde que. So if you know those translations, you're probably do fine. So one example with as long as is that you can watch TV as long as you do your homework. So if you do your homework, you can watch TV. So that's kind of replacing as long as for if. And you could also use on the condition that, so you can watch TV on the condition that you do your homework. So that's basically it. So let's kind of practice because the difference is kind of easy, but sometimes we can kind of, should we use unless, should we use as long as? So let's take a look at questions. The first one, I'm taking last year's accounts with me to the tax office. Ta-na-na, they want to look at the figures. So this here is not unless, because you are taking kind of in the case of, like if they want to look at the pictures. So the condition is kind of positive. You would use like if, probably, if they want to look at the figures. However, remember that we talked about as long as, which would be like replaced by if. And we also talked about in case. As long as, usually you already know the condition, but you already know like what's gonna happen. But in case, it's kind of more doubtful. You're not that certain. So here you're gonna use in case because you don't know if they want to look at the figures or not. Second example, I won't mention that he's left, someone asks. Here is on left, like unless someone asks, you won't mention he's left. So if no one asks, if they don't ask you about it, you're not gonna mention. So doing that replace with if and taking a close look to realize if you're gonna have like a positive sentence or a negative one, it's kind of the key to know when you're gonna use unless and when you're gonna use as long as. Third one, it will be worth our while to continue producing large quantities. We continue to market and promote the product. So here is not unless, it's kind of as long as, because if we continue to market and promote the product, it will be worth, so as long as, because we have like this positive condition. Fourth one, the bank will continue to transfer the interest to your current account, instructed otherwise. So let's try with if before I tell you the answer. So if you are instructed otherwise, the bank will not continue to transfer. So we kind of did this positive to negative change, right? And I could take it in another way, like if you don't, instruct the bank otherwise, it will continue to transfer. Do you see that in any of those cases, I have to turn the positive sentence into negative? So in this case, I'm talking about a negative condition. So it means that I should use unless. Fifth and last one, the organizers of the event have made arrangements for indoor as well as outdoor activities. Rain. So if it rains, they have those events arranged, like they have those arrangements for indoor and outdoor. So if it rains, it's a positive. I didn't turn positive into negative at any point. So it means it is a positive condition, which means it would probably be as long as. However, as we talked about before, in some cases we have in case of or in case. So here it's kind of the same thing as the first one. You don't actually know if it's gonna rain. So if you don't know if it's gonna rain or not, you should probably use in case of. It's gonna be in case of rain because you're talking about like a substantive. That's why you put like the of at the end. But you could also say in case it rains. So you're gonna be using in case of because it's not something certain. While you're gonna use as long as when you have like kind of 100% certainty that's gonna happen. So that was it for today. Here are the references. Hope you are never gonna miss unless and as long as anymore. Also like in case of. And I think that was it. If you have any questions, in the description of this video, we have the link for the WhatsApp group and also for the Google Classroom. So feel free to join them if you have not joined them yet. And I think that was it. Thank you. Bye.